Have you ever been to a concert or maybe seen a skyscraper lit up at night and just been totally floored by the light show? We're talking thousands of lights, all changing color, moving in perfect sync. It honestly feels like magic. But behind all that, there's been a massive technological leap. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how lighting control went from like a simple one-way street to an absolute superhighway of data.
Right. So this is the big question, isn't it? When you've got thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of individual lights, how in the world do you send super precise instructions to every single one of them, instantly and reliably, without the whole system just glitching out? Well, it all comes down to the language that lights use to talk to each other.
So let's start at the very beginning, with the protocol that was, without a doubt, the king of lighting control for decades.
For a really long time, if you wanted to control a professional light, you were using DMX 512. Think of it as the universal language for lighting. It basically gave designers 512 separate sliders, or channels, to control different things, like red, green, blue, brightness, even where the light was pointing. And a whole set of these 512 channels is called a universe. For years, one universe was plenty.
But, as creative ideas got bigger and the tech got crazier, that reliable old language started to hit some serious walls. The universe, as it turns out, was getting a little crowded.
So, the key thing to wrap your head around is this number, 512. Now that sounds like a lot, right? But just one modern, intelligent LED fixture can easily eat up 20, 30, maybe even more channels all by itself. So if you want to control hundreds of these things, you're going to burn through your channels and your universes really, really fast. The math just wasn't working anymore.
And hey, it wasn't just about the number of channels. DMX had other physical limits. You could only string together 32 devices before the signal just got too weak. The signal itself moved at a speed that was blazing fast in the 80s, but kind of like a crawl by today's standards. And maybe most important of all, it was a one-way conversation. The control desk could shout commands at the lights, but it had no idea if they actually heard it or if a light was having a problem. It was just shouting into the void.
So clearly a whole new solution was needed, and that solution came from the world of computer networking, using the exact same technology that connects your computer to the internet right now.
So why Ethernet? Well, for one, it was way faster, it was cheaper, and it was a lot more robust. It used standard cables and hardware you could get anywhere. Plus, a lot of venues already had Ethernet networks installed, which made everything a whole lot easier. It was the perfect data superhighway just sitting there waiting to be used.
And let's just talk about speed for a second here. We are not talking about a small little bump. Ethernet offered a data speed that was anywhere from 40 to, get this, 400 times faster than DMX. This was a total game changer, opening the door to controlling an absolutely insane amount of data in real time.
This also meant a huge leap in reliability. DMX used a daisy chain setup, kind of like those old Christmas lights. If one bulb goes out, the whole string goes dark. Ethernet, on the other hand, uses a star layout. Every single device gets its own line to a central switch, so if one cable fails, only that one device is affected. The rest of the show goes on, no problem.
Okay, so we've got the old language, DMX, that all the lights understand. And we have this brand new superhighway, Ethernet. The big question is, how do you get them to work together? You need a translator. And that translator is called ArtNet. Developed back in 1998, ArtNet is basically a really clever set of rules that takes a whole DMX universe, wraps it up into a standard little network packet, and just sends it cruising over an Ethernet network. It was the digital bridge that finally connected the old world to the new one. But ArtNet wasn't some one-and-done thing. It got smarter over time. The very first version was revolutionary, but it was also kind of noisy. It basically broadcast data to every single device on the network. But the later versions got much, much smarter. They learned how to send data only to the specific devices that needed it, and they just kept massively expanding the number of universes they could handle.
And to really get that key improvement, think of it this way. That first version of ArtNet was like using a megaphone. It was just shouting data to the entire network, whether they needed to hear it or not. The later versions were more like a direct phone call, sending data only to the one device that was supposed to get it, and that change dramatically reduced network traffic and made these enormous systems possible.
So how enormous are we talking about? Well, the latest versions of ArtNet can theoretically handle over 32,000 DMX universes. That's more than 16 million individual channels of control. We went from worrying about running out of 512 channels to a system that has, for all practical purposes, limitless scale.
Oh, and remember how DMX was just a one-way street? ArtNet, working with another protocol called RDM, totally fixed that. It allows for two-way communication. So now the controller can ask a light, "Hey, what's your status?" or tell it to change your address, and the light can actually answer back. For the technicians running the show, this is an absolute lifesaver. No more climbing a 50-foot truss in the dark just to push one little button on a single light.
But of course, all of this power creates a brand new challenge. How do you manage what is now an enormous flood of data in the real world?
You see, even with modern, super-fast network switches, that megaphone broadcast traffic we talked about can still cause problems. A switch has to look at and process every single one of those broadcast packets. So if you're sending out data for hundreds of universes at once, even the best hardware can just get overwhelmed and start to slow down, or even freeze up. So the pros have developed all these strategies to tame the data flood. They carefully plan their networks, they limit how many universes run through a single port, they group lights into logical zones, and they use things like subnets to keep all that traffic contained. It's all about smart network design to make sure the show runs perfectly every time.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Simple. ArtNet is that crucial link. It acts as the perfect translator, letting the decades-old, universally understood language of DMX travel on the fast, reliable superhighway of modern Ethernet. And that is what unlocks the creative potential for the incredible, massive visual experiences that we see all around us today. And that brings us to a final, really fascinating question. Now that lighting control is basically just another stream of data on a network, what's next? Are we going to see AI-driven lighting designs, deeper integration with video and sound systems that we can't even imagine yet? The highway has been built, and the possibilities for where it can take us, well, we're just beginning to explore them.